Hey, how you doing today? I am Taquila Coleman. In today's video, we're going to continue in our Why Do I Have to Stand series. Now, in this video, we're talking about waiting is part of the process. Begin to understand that when God make his promise with you, when he make his covenant with you and promise you a God-ordained marriage, right? What that means is it's going to come with waiting. It's going to come, through prayer, through fasting, because this is something supernatural that's going to come about, right? This is something that God is leading you to birth first in the spiritual realm, and then it got to manifest, here on earth, right? In the physical. And so it's going to require work. It's going to require for you to war. It's going to require for you to learn how to fight spiritually. It's going to require some things from you, okay? And so I want us to take a look at a few people in the Bible and just get an understanding that when God promised these people certain things in the Bible, they had to go through their own process as well. Okay. Starting with Sarah. God promised Abraham and Sarah a promised child, right? Now we read how Sarah became impatient, right? She became impatient. She rolled over into a little doubt, and she gave her servant Hagar to her husband to bring about this promise, right? Ishmael. But the Lord still stepped in and said, "No, my covenant is with Isaac." Sarah had to wait at least 25 years for her son Isaac to be born. Now, I'm not saying God is going to make you wait 25 years, but look at the process, right? God was after their faith. God wanted Sarah and Abraham to trust what he said, that he will bring what he said to pass, right? So we see the process in Sarah and Abraham's life, right? Joseph. Let's talk about Joseph in the book of Genesis, right? He was thrown into prison. He was lied on, came up under character assassination, right? He um he was thrown into prison, but he had to wait, right? But let me start with his dream, because God, that this is how it all started with his dream. God gave him a dream showing him that his brothers and father and mother will be bowing down to him, right? So Joseph had to go through his process of being betrayed, rejected, overlooked, lied on, thrown into prison, forgotten about, right? He had to go through this process. And all of this process was birthing the very dream that God put on the inside of Joseph, right? Joseph had to wait for the person who dreamed he interpreted while he was in prison. He had to wait for this person to remember him and bring his name before Pharaoh before he was considered for the position. Do you see the process? Do you see the process? Let's talk about Ruth. Ruth, okay? Ruth didn't know just by following behind Naomi, leaving, her gods and following, Naomi's gods. She didn't know that this was going to bring her, into her Boaz. She didn't know that she was going to walk right into a new life, right? But she had to go through the process. She had to go through the process of letting go of family and friends. She had to let go of these idols, okay? Right? She had to, walk by faith and not by sight. Then she also had to go and work in a field full of strangers, right? Also, when she runs into Boaz, she still had to wait after she won his favor. She had to wait for Boaz to get things in order before she could be made his wife. Do you see the process? There's a process to what God is promising you. Let's talk about Esther. Esther made queen. However, the enemy rose up for such a time as this to try to take Esther and her people's life. Now, Esther was the queen. She could have been like, listen, I ain't about to tolerate this from Haman. She could have just told them, go ahead and take him on up out of here. He'd have put this decree in. She the queen. But she had to go through a process, right, of exposing Haman to the king, right? So we see Esther, her process consists of, I got to overcome my fear. See, Mordecai challenged her. She had to overcome her fear. She had to face the very thing that she was afraid of, right? Going before the king, right? Because that was something that wasn't, it was out of order. She had to be summoned by the king, but she had to face her fear, that this might cost me my life, right? Her process consists of overcoming fears, facing her fears, but also rising up for such a time as this. She had to step into that leadership role. God is waiting on many of you to step into your leadership role. He is waiting on you to overcome your fear, right? God said, I'm not going to just hand you this promise. You got to step out of the boat. We talked about that this morning. You got to step out of the boat and face your fears. He said, you got to get uncomfortable. You got to rise up for the calling. You got to rise up and step into that leadership position that God has already called you to walk in. He said, you got to walk by faith and not by sight. So this is why you have to stand. Okay. This is just some of the reasons why you have to stand. When God promised you a thing, it's not gonna come easy. He's not gonna just hand it to you. It's gonna come as you walk by faith and not by sight. It's gonna come as you trust God. It's gonna come as you step out on faith. It's gonna come as you get out of your comfort zone. It's gonna come as the old you is stripping away and you stepping into that new you. It's gonna come as you fight against what's fighting against your love story, showing God, I want what you promised me, and I'm not going to let the enemy just take it from me. Okay. So, this is why you have to stand. I am Taquila Coleman. I'll talk to you real soon. Take care.